Welcome to Touching Base. Today we have Stephen Ratu here with us, joining us on the hot seat. Most people know Stephen from around the Diamonds over many years that he's been playing and coaching. But where did your softball journey begin?
Started when I was a little toddler, when I was pretty much born. My parents used to play softball, so that's how I got involved. And I always used to back in the day they used to have those big duffel team bags. And I used to get carried in one of them to the ball games.
Oh, nice.
So it was a lot of fun.
Did your whole family play?
Yes, yep. I was brought up in Wellington, so mum and dad, they started up a club up there, St George, and that's where I was introduced to the game of softball, and I had heaps of family members playing, heaps of relations, so yeah, we were pretty much born into it.
When did you realise that you were pretty good at the sport?
Probably when I was about 13, 14, and I got the opportunity to play 3 grades on a Saturday. I'd play under 14s and then go and play Major B men back in the day, which is like our Prem 2 teams these days, and then got called up to go and fill in for the Major A men.
Awesome.
And I spent probably the next 4 or 5 years learning the craft. My first couple of years, all I was just a DR, just sat there and learned. So I never actually got on the diamond and had a hit or got to field, I just ran.
Nice. So within that time, obviously you were learning along the way. Was there anyone in there that really stood out?
For me back then, yeah, there was. He's a legend of a coach. I learned most of my softball through him. His name was Warren Stoddard. He obviously plucked me out of the junior ranks to get me up there. So yeah, a lot of my softballing in my career, I pretty much dedicate to him because he's the one that gave me the opportunity.
It's great. Getting the opportunities is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Over the years, you've won multiple national titles and club titles. Was there any one that stands out to you?
Probably my first national title with Wellington. I was a 16-year-old kid, just raw, and Warren Stoddard was the coach of the Wellington team, and we had a stacked team then. We had the likes of Marty Grant, Gary Nakin, Kerry Johansson, Freddie Wyatt. It was just stacked. Mike Nichols and I just happened to. He just seen a little brown boy that could play softball and brought me along for the tournament, and yeah, I was picked in the team as a DR, and I ended up playing a couple of games there. So that was my first one, and that was in Dunedin, and yeah, it was just surreal being around that calibre of players.
Would have learnt a lot, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
As a player, what do you think were your strengths?
When I was younger, it was probably just my speed and the willing to learn, and just having that natural ability. But as I got older, I realised that natural ability only got me so far, and then I had to work hard. And when I got to the peak of my career, I think it was more my game smarts and understanding the game that was probably my real strength. And just knowing in pressure situations what to do and how to keep a cool head instead of flipping out when I was younger.
Yeah, really important, and
Yeah.
I guess that's been good in your transition into being a coach as well.
Yeah.
Being able to take that stuff across.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you've toured with multiple teams. So you've toured as a player over to the States and to Japan. You have gone away with New Zealand Black Sox team. If you were to give a little bit of advice to a young player about to take on their first tour, what do you think you'd be able to impart some wisdom to them?
Probably just make sure you do the work before the tour, pretty much. Because if you put that base in and do all the work, you know you're going over there prepared and not underdone. That's probably the main thing, because it all starts back home.
So how have you found the transition from being a player to a coach?
At the start, I struggled. What a lot of people don't know about me is like my first coaching gig was when I was a 17-year-old kid. I coached the Wellington under 16 boys team to a
Wow.
yeah, I was just a year out of it because I missed the team because I was too old. So I coached a bunch of guys that I grew up playing with, and we went to a quadrangular tournament in Wellington where it was Hutt Valley, Western Bays, Wellington, and all. I think Hutt Valley might have had 2 teams, and we come away winning that tournament, and then I ended up getting the top coach ahead of, say, some older guys that had been around the traps for a while that were coaching those other representative teams, and I'm like, oh, this job ain't so bad, it's not so hard. But then obviously transitioning into coaching under 15 kids. Well, when I first got here, I coached the under 15 Canterbury boys team. That was an eye-opener because I had to go back and try and get on their level instead of trying to expect too much from them, like what I was used to, just being that elite guy and stuff. So I had to rein it back a bit. And then, then all of a sudden got the opportunity to coach the New Zealand development side, the under 15 boys, which was another step up. And that's where I could actually start implementing a little bit of eliteness into their trainings and telling them what's what and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been fun.
It's been a big journey.
It has been a big journey, yeah. And then I went from obviously those 2 teams to coaching the Canterbury Red Sox. And in all honesty, that was probably one of the hardest times of my career as a coach. It was like we had really good players, we had a really good team, but for some reason we just didn't click, and I found it difficult to try and gel them.
Yeah.
But in saying that, it's something that I've learnt from, and I enjoyed the occasion at the time, and it would put pressure on me to say, right, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. But then I just sat back and went, well, hang on, no, I don't. All I can do is just guide them and try and send them and point them in the right direction, and it's up to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's and as a coach, we're always getting those lessons as we go along the way and evolving as coaches. And now you've taken a step into coaching the females game as well. How do you find that?
I'm actually finding it really enjoyable compared to the men's game and the women's game. In the men's game, you can turn up and coach, and the men's game you're actually looking for that one big hit to kickstart everyone, or for someone to hit it out, and then all of a sudden the boys get up and they're all like, yeah, let's go. Whereas the women's game, it's more tactical, and you have to create team runs. Like someone gets a safe hit, someone gets a walk, the next hitter pushes them to the next space, the next hitter drives them in and stuff like that. Yes, they can do that in the men's game, but they more rely on power. Whereas the women's game, there's so much more that you actually have to coach.
So that'll bring in that knowledge that you had as a player. So really utilising that.
Utilise that and trying to pick teams apart, knowing where their field's doing, and knowing is like who I've got in the box, knowing what they can do. And then like, well, you can do this and they're doing this to you, so I'll call that shot for you. Just doing the unexpected things.
So if you were to look back and be able to give yourself as a young Stephen Ratu, starting off down at the Diamonds, if you could give yourself a little bit of advice, what would that be?
Don't be a dick. It's
good advice.
For me, like, it took me a while. It was when I was younger, I was all about, I had the talent and everything, but I didn't like to work for it. I just thought I was that good that I'd just walk into teams. Yeah, but then, like, obviously getting named in my, it was my junior World Series team that I made in '91 for New Zealand. Talent got me there, but then I seen a lot of talented boys that should have been in that team, but they didn't make the team because when we got to our training camps and all that, they didn't have the work ethic to stay there, and that's what got me. And I further on through the year, when I made my New Zealand Black Sox debut, I made it in 1999, it took me 10 years to get to a World Series, because every now and then I just go, no, I'm not doing that. So if my advice is, once you get there, talent will get you so far, but once they're in there, you got to work your butt off to stay there. It's easy making teams, but it's harder to stay in there.
Good advice, and I'm sure that that'll resonate with some people as well. So your kids have started to be named in national teams and national squads now, and they're on their journey. What advice do you give to them, and how do you find navigating that?
Personally, for me, navigating it, for myself, it's pretty easy for me. I think all the hard work that my kids are doing, it comes down to actually my wife. She's the driver. She's the one that pushes them to get out there and train and stuff like that. And I'm just the guy that will turn up while they're training and just give a bit of advice here and there. But really, it's my wife Carly that pushes them to get to where they are right now. They've got them to where they are right now.
She certainly does do a lot of work, and
she does,
and has installed some real good work ethic in both your kids. So along your career, who you enjoyed catching to the most?
Out of all of them, for me growing up, the one guy that I like catching to the most, and even though he's at one end of the country and I'm at the other, is Heine Shannon. I think him and we clicked from our juniors. We were in the juniors team together, and we just clicked in, and all of a sudden it just became, every time we played catch together in a game, it was like we've been pitching and catching to each other for years.
So you played over in Japan. How did you find your experience over there?
Japan was an interesting one. I spent 3 or 4 seasons over there, which these seasons, they're a bit longer than normal seasons. Like New Zealand's seasons are like 6 months, whereas Japan is close to 7 to 8 months, because one whole month, I think it's around July maybe, I'm not sure, they have a typhoon season, they call it, which the whole month it just rains and hails, so you can't do anything. Wow. Yeah, so within that time, we used to go on holiday for a month, just pick somewhere in Japan, and it was surreal, because I played in Kagoshima, which is one of the most southern townships or cities on the island of Kyushu, and that's the last port before you have to jump on a boat or on a plane to go to Okinawa. So we played out of there for a team called Nishi Nippon Shiroari, which was a company, and all the softball that we played over there was company related. We had to play against company teams all over Japan, and there was only one tournament of the year where it was an open tournament where you could play club teams. Yeah, but the experience over there was eye-opening. At the beginning we struggled, because obviously coming from New Zealand, you didn't really know a lot of Japanese. All I knew was konnichiwa, but then I got over there, and after a few months I realised that saying hello in a day, there's three ways of saying hello. Obviously Michael Gage and we were there for 3 or 4 years, and just a little insight, him and I were the first foreigners to ever play in a national, in one of their leagues for a whole season.
That's impressive.
Yeah. They had foreigners beforehand, like Mark Sorensen had gone over for a weekend to play, but he never actually played a whole season there. They were playing in the second league, and they wanted to get their team up to the first league. So it took Michael and I 2 years. The first year we didn't do it. So the second year we went back, and then we got them up for the third year, and we ended up playing all the national Japanese players, and that's how I really got to know them and know them properly. So it was awesome.
That's cool. So you've helped pave the way for the people of the future that are doing that now. The way I look at it, we did. Yeah, it's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you spent time over in the States as well. How did you find the experience there, and how did it differ from your experience?
The States, my first trip to the States when I was probably 16 and went over there and played. I got selected for I think it was a New Zealand Institute of Sport team here. And we went on tour there, and we did the Orange County tour. So we went to Oakland, San Francisco, California, and we did all that tour through there. And on that team we had like Thomas Markia, Vondello, Heine Shannon. I think our coach was Simon Roskovich. I think he lives in the States now. And that was my first eye-opener to America. That it was weird because of the food. We weren't used to just eating takeouts every night. But it wasn't a bad thing. It was like, we really enjoyed it because we were just 16-year-olds. I was like, oh yeah, we love this.
So you were 16 when you first went over? Oh, so that was your first, you went to the States before you went to Japan?
Yes, yeah. I was 16 there, and then at 18, I played for my first team over there in Lincoln, Nebraska, where the team was Qualigraphs. Ended up playing for them, and then played for them for like 2 years or 3 years, and then played for Broken Bow. And within those 5 years that I was there, I was also getting picked up to play for other teams over there, like a team out of Kansas called Topeka Travelers.
So you would have experienced a lot of different coaches through all of those different teams.
Mm-hmm.
And at a young age, how did you find that, having so many different voices in your ear?
I thought it was cool. Just learning off, because people have got their own ways of coaching, their own ways of teaching things, and I think that also helped me along my career. I'd just take little bits out of there that I thought would help me. I didn't have to do everything that they did, but yeah, obviously just taking little bits out of what they coach and what I see. And it came to the point where, like, some of the teams that I played for, especially my Qualigraphs team, they were just a local city team, a city league team, and we qualified for the ISC in Iowa. Went down there and played, and it was a qualifying tournament. We had to play a team called, I think it was Allcar, and at that time they had Michael White pitching for them, and Mike Pietnik, which Mike White obviously legend, New Zealand pitcher, and Mike Pietnik was a flamethrower that I'm not too sure if he was Canadian or American, and and we played them in the final to try and qualify for ISC, and we ended up beating them. And the whole crowd just erupted because we were just a bunch of nobodies, city league ballers, coming up against all these guys that are international players, and we ended up beating them to qualify. So
everyone loves an underdog.
Yeah, so that was huge, and that's when I really thought, I can make something of this.
It sounds like you've experienced and been able to travel a lot, and softball's taken you all around the world.
It
has. A lot of
has,
different experiences, and to meet a lot of pretty amazing people as well.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about softball, is like you have friendships all over the world. You meet new people, and you end up building a good friendship and relationship with them, and then you remember them for the rest of your life.
On your tours, who's the biggest character that you can think of?
Oh, lately, probably in the last couple of tours, the biggest character would be Wayne Laulu. The biggest, cheesiest grin. Yep, the biggest, cheesiest grin. He's loud, he's funny, but he's one guy that I think every team should have, because he just keeps you up when things ain't going right. He's not fussed about what's not going right. He just talks about other stuff just to get you off that grumpy mood, and he just keeps lifting you up.
Nice. Yeah, every team does need somebody like that. Have you got any good roommate stories from any tours?
Oh, I kind of do, but I'm not allowed to tell them. What goes on tour stays on tour.
We tried.
We tried.
Oh, thank you very much for joining us in the hot seat here today, and I hope people learned some new things about you along the way.
Easy.
Thank
Hey,
you.
just one other thing. Hey, if people that are out there, don't be afraid to ask, because all people can say is no, and then go on to ask someone. If you don't ask, you don't get, pretty much. All right, and that's how I was taught. If you ask the question for someone to help you, all they can do is say no, or you're going to get your dreams come true, and they will come and help you.
Yeah, great advice. Absolutely. And every coach loves to be asked questions.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.